How's it going, Chuck?
It's going well. Now we got the heat lamps.
Yeah, we just got picked up the heat lamps this morning. Got the temperature in here to what, 60 degrees?
Yeah.
So now we
well,
can...
right here.
Yeah, well, this is the important part where we're working and where we're going to be varnishing and stuff. Got a nice workspace to get our varnishing done, which is very cool.
Yeah.
And what are you up to right now?
Well, we got this set. Well, first I'm setting up a sample board so that we know what the wood looks like after it's been finished. I'm going to put a second coat of stain on the top half of this so we can compare one coat to two coats, and then various things that we're going to be doing with the furniture. Some of it is just going to be stained and varnished without any resin or anything on it, maybe. Well, we have to find out what it looks like if we put penetrating resin first, or stain first, followed by penetrating resin, followed by varnish, see what that looks like.
Yeah, and then the bulkhead we're talking about, bulkhead's definitely going to have a coat of epoxy on it.
Yeah, that's going to be penetrating resin with probably either 6 or 4 ounce cloth, which is what we're going to determine here. I got one with 6 ounce, one with 4 ounce cloth. And then over top of that, probably the satin finish varnish, because this should be real glassy,
we want a nice,
glassy, bright, shiny finish that we may want to knock it down a little bit. So that's why we're going to see what the satin varnish looks like on top of the epoxy finish. So I'm just setting up this board now. I've already put a coat of stain, one coat of stain. I'm going to put a second coat of stain on. Yeah. I marked it originally with pencil, and I found out I can't see the pencil through the stain. Duh. This is our sample board. We're testing different kinds of finishes. The first block is just a control. It's just the plain plywood, then plain plywood with some stain. Stain is one coat of varnish over it. I'll put a couple more coats on there, see how it turns out. My temperature gauge here, sophisticated temperature gauge, calibrated to tell me the temperature of the surface. Okay, these are my different tests.
And ideally we want that to be in above 40 degrees?
Ideally above 70 degrees,
oh.
but the products I'm using will cure at as low as 40, and in the case of the laminating resin, as low as 35 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, we've been using the West systems previously, but
now we're using System 3 because of that. Because when we talked to Chris, he recommended it because it will cure clear at 35 degrees.
Yeah, I think all the locals use that one, but
what matters is that we're using System 3 products. The S1 penetrating resin is what's on here now. 3 coats of that, along with various kinds of stains. We used, this was a cherry wood gel. It didn't work out too well. It's too light. We used Minwax stain 233 to 225 here. 15-minute cure time and resting time, and then this was a 5-minute resting time. There's hardly any difference at all. Hardly any difference at all. And then we put 3 coats of penetrating resin on it, S1, System 3 S1 penetrating resin, and let that cure.
You're so nice when you say we, because this whole project has been yours.
So far. I've
been kind of busy at the clinic, so. But after today, I'm pretty much out.
Yeah.
So you got me. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff in the next couple of days.
Right now, the weather is really crap.
Yeah, it's
but we have this set up with the heat lamps and everything, and it's working out pretty good. This stuff has been on here. This last coat's been on here for 6.5 hours now. So in an hour or so, I'm going to start working on putting a layer of glass, a 6 ounce glass cloth on these 3 sections, 1, 2, 3 sections, and then I'll wet this out, put that on, and leave it cure overnight, and come back, and it'll be ready for recoat in the morning.
Yeah, cool. And then we can get an idea of kind of which colors and which texture, and if it matters doing it one way or the other.
Well, we need to see what it looks like what this plywood looks like stained through the glass.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a test with 4-ounce cloth also, so and with 6 and 4 combined. So we'll see what it actually looks like, and get a little practice at the technique.
All right, Hagar, does Chuck need some practice? Yep.
I take it that's a yes. Oh look, a cup of coffee. So this isn't like varnish now. You don't have to worry about your brush strokes. It's going to level out as it cures. You got to worry about contamination and make sure that the weave is filled and there's no air between the cloth and the wood or the underlying substrate. I'm going to come back and recoat this with a second coat after I look up the cure time again. I'm pretty sure I have at least 24 hours before it cures up and needs to be sanded. Right, we're back in the shop again. It's been about 20 hours since we laid on this coat of resin and cloth to see what the 6-ounce cloth would look like on top of the penetrating resin. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do this one here is going to be 4-ounce cloth only, and this one's going to be 4-ounce on top of the 6-ounce. Okay.
And why are you?
Just to see how it looks.
Just to
really,
see how
just
it
to
looks.
see how it looks.
Okay.
We're just doing this to see how it's going to turn out, what it's going to look like when it's done.
It's looking pretty
What we
good
can expect.
right now.
It's looking pretty good right now. I'm going to get all that junk off of there. You have 72 hours, according to the directions, to recoat without sanding. If you go beyond 72 hours, you have to sand it before you recoat. You want to do it before you have to sand it so that you get a good chemical bond between the layers. Otherwise you have a mechanical bond that's not quite as strong. Now, over here where we laid this on with resin, and I peeled this back a little bit, and you can see when I peeled the fiberglass loose, I don't know if you can see that or not,
It took a little bit.
we got wood.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That means that the cloth with the laminating resin bonded chemically to the penetrating resin, and so that it's pulling the wood off. That's what we want to have. We want that good bond there. All right. So now we're going to mix up another batch of resin. So this is yesterday's batch of resin. Obviously we can't use this again, but you don't want to just throw this away because these cups are reusable. All you have to do is pop that out of there.
It's an epoxy
That's it, an epoxy sickle.
sickle.
Of course, the brush was toast anyway. Once you get mixed up resin and hardener on the brush, it's no good anymore. But the cups,
I know everyone wonders why you pay a couple of bucks for those cups, but
well, there's no need in buying hundreds of them because you don't need to throw it away every time you use it.
yeah. And the reason why they recommend that those cups specifically was it the square edges?
Well, these,
in there?
yeah, as opposed to a cottage cheese or yogurt container that we might use for thinner or paint, is that the bottom is flat. So if the mixing sticks that you use, you can scrape into the corners and get every bit of hardener and resin to mix together and scrape the sides like that. Sticks, you don't need to throw these away. I mean, if you're using tongue depressors, that's fine, but they aren't square on the bottom, so you can't mix as well. And these things here, they're cheap, but this one had penetrating resin on it, and
It just pops right up.
it just pops right off. It won't stick to this plastic material. Laminating resin you can just snap it and it'll crack right off. But so you can reuse these. I'm not going to because I don't want to mess with that right now. I'll just grab a clean one, which we've got plenty of.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. So we're putting on another coat of epoxy because I can quite clearly see the cloth
Yeah.
still through some of the sections here. Yeah, I think that 233 is going to be the color we end up going with.
Yeah, think so?
I like that, yeah. Well, I like the 225, but it's just a tad dark, I think, for what we want. It'll be a little too dark on Lealea.
It's really hard doing small quantities, but we're doing, first pour the resin, and make sure you get it all out. Use your mixing stick to scrape the sides. Little mixing cup here. And again, we always have to thoroughly mix, making sure we get into the corners of the bottom of the container, mixing from the bottom always. Scraping the sides frequently. These things mixed, mix it thoroughly for at least 3 minutes or so. Just keep stirring it.
You said bubbles don't matter, right?
Bubbles don't matter at this stage, no. My experience so far has been that during the curing process, any bubbles that you do get will rise to the surface, and in the end you'll have a nice glossy finish. But that's what we're testing this for. I'm following the directions as exactly as it is possible for me to do so. Yeah. I don't want anybody to think that this is an instructional video on how to work with epoxy and resin and stuff. West Systems and System 3 both have very good product videos that you can watch that show you the right way to do this. And if there's any conflict between the way they're doing it and the way I'm doing it, you know which way to go. Go with them, not me. So anyway, there it is. And all we do now, we have to walk away and let it cure.
Let it cure.
Not come back to it until tomorrow, actually.
I was just going to say, we'll check on the project tomorrow then.
Yeah. And we brought our sample project down to the boat so we could see how the various colors look with the existing woodwork that we're hoping to keep or that we already have in here. To give you an idea, this piece is the same type of plywood. It's Okumi plywood, and it has been stained with Minwax 234.
You said you couldn't find the 234 anymore?
Nope. 233 and 235 are still in the catalog, but 234 cherry wood penetrating stain is no longer in the Minwax catalog, or at least it's not on the website. So 225 is available here, and 233 are available, and 235, but not 234. So we can't get the same stain. We're not going to match it. On the other hand, as an old salt and boat craftsman, Frank Adams once told me, if you want it to match, paint it. But paint is not an option, is it, honey?
No, it's not. And both of them are, I could go either way. The 225 is a little dark. The 233 is
a little light.
A little light.
And neither of them are quite red enough.
But I'm not going to get that fussy at this point.
Yeah.
Either one will work, so it's just a matter of preference. I'm thinking the 233 over the 225 myself.
Yeah. Well, we're dealing with different types of wood. We chose Okumi plywood, Okumi marine plywood, because it's the best available. The different kinds of woods we already have on the boat, these covers here are Okumi and they're stained. Okay, so we can't get that stain anymore. Don't know what we're going to do about that. We try to get it as matched as closely as possible. But this wood is sapile, and all these veneers are sapile. This wood is sapile. This wood is Honduras mahogany. This, of course, is white oak. But so you see, we're trying to get something close to this Honduras mahogany sapile
the
color.
whole idea is to kind of build around the table that Frank built for us. So.
Yeah. So this is really the color we want to get closest to, the Honduras mahogany color. But none of the stains look like that. And, you know, wood is a natural product. The color of the wood depends on the nutrients in the soil, how much rainfall, the part of the tree that the particular board came from. So all these different variables. You just can't match.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's not going to happen. You know, we can darker and reddish, and you know, that's about it. So we'll just experiment with the stains, one of those two, or we might try another one. But we've already experimented with the various types of cloth and glass and varnish and resin, and see the effects of those products on the plywood. So now we have a direction to go. We may or may not choose a different stain. It depends. So now we're off to Rocky's Marine and
Go get
Piston
some-
and Rudder,
Go get some more supplies.
and see the other sources that we haven't tapped yet for supplies and tools. Off we go.
Off we go.
Oh, and Laura has an appointment with the canvas lady today.
Yep. Talk to her about the cushion. Oh, it reminds me, I need to take a measurement while we're down here.
Yeah, take a measurement by all means.
Woohoo! Our wine-induced pink covers are going away.
Oh, it's about time.